I used to joke that our babysitter practically lived with us. Her name was Emily, 19, home from her first year at the University of Georgia. Long blonde hair she always kept in a messy ponytail, oversized college sweatshirts that swallowed her frame. She started watching our son, Caleb, when he was 3. He's 5 now. Back then, I remember thinking how lucky we were. She was reliable, sweet, the kind of girl who still said, "Yes, ma'am," without irony. Mark adored her. That sounds bad already, but at first it wasn't. He adored her the way suburban dads adore any young person who makes their life easier. He'd come home from his accounting firm downtown, loosen his tie, and say, "Emily, you're a lifesaver," when the house was clean and Caleb was already in pajamas. "She's like family," he'd tell me whenever I mentioned how much we were paying her. "You can't put a price on trust." We live in Alpharetta, north of Atlanta. Quiet cul-de-sac, 2-story brick house. The kind of neighborhood where people decorate for every holiday and leave their garage doors open all afternoon. I work as a dental hygienist 3 days a week. Mark works long hours, especially during tax season. We built this life carefully, brick by brick. I never thought the crack would come from inside our own house. Looking back, I can see small things that should have bothered me more. The way Mark lingered in the kitchen when Emily was there, even if he had nothing to do. The way he'd laugh a little too hard at her jokes. The way he started offering to drive her home at night instead of letting me do it. "She lives 10 minutes away," I said once. "I can take her." "I'm already headed that way," he replied casually, grabbing his keys. "It's fine." I remember standing at the window one night, watching his truck pull out of the driveway with her in the passenger seat. She was talking animatedly, hands moving. He was smiling at her in a way I hadn't seen directed at me in a while. But I told myself I was being ridiculous. She was 19. He was 38. He coached Caleb's t-ball team. He grilled on Sundays. He forgot to replace the toilet paper roll. He was not the kind of man who risked everything for a teenage babysitter. At least that's what I believed. The first real shift happened in April. I came home early from work because one of our patients canceled. I didn't text. I just pulled into the driveway around 2 in the afternoon. Mark's truck was there. That wasn't unusual by itself. He works from home occasionally, but he hadn't mentioned it that morning. I walked inside quietly, expecting to hear cartoons or Caleb's little voice narrating some imaginary battle. Instead, the house was strangely quiet. Then I heard it. Laughter, low and private. It was coming from the kitchen. I rounded the corner and saw them sitting at the island. Caleb was down the hall napping. Emily was perched on one of the stools, legs crossed, leaning forward. Mark stood across from her, closer than necessary. When they saw me, both of them flinched. It was subtle, but it was there. "Oh," Mark said quickly, "you're home early." "Patient canceled," I replied, setting my purse down slowly. "What are you doing here?" "Conference call got moved," he said. "Thought I'd work from here." Emily's cheeks were flushed. She tucked her hair behind her ear and smiled at me. "We were just talking about my summer classes." Her voice sounded thinner than usual. I told myself it was nothing. I kissed Caleb when he woke up. I made dinner. I watched Mark scroll on his phone at the table, thumbs moving faster than usual. That night, when we were in bed, I rolled toward him. "You've been different lately," I said quietly. He sighed. "Different how?" "I don't know. Distracted." "Work's been insane, Claire. You know that." He kissed my forehead and turned away. I lay there staring at the ceiling, telling myself marriage had seasons. This was just a tired season. The texts didn't happen until July. It was stupid, the way I found them. Not some dramatic private investigator moment. Just a dead phone. We were at a neighborhood barbecue. Mark had been drinking. Not sloppy, but enough that he left his phone on the patio table when he went inside to help someone with the grill. My phone had died earlier, and Caleb was playing in the backyard with sparklers. I wanted to take a picture. I picked up Mark's phone without thinking. We knew each other's passcodes. Or at least I thought we did. When I tried his usual 4 digits, it didn't work. That made my stomach drop in a way I can't fully explain. I tried Caleb's birthday. It opened. I don't know what made me go to his messages. Maybe instinct. Maybe the tiny thread of suspicion that had been tightening for months. Emily's name was near the top. My hand started shaking before I even opened it. The first text I saw was from her. I can still see it like it's burned into me. Last night was all I've been thinking about today. My vision blurred. I scrolled. "Mark, you looked so beautiful when you left this morning.
Emily. I was terrified she'd wake up. Mark, she never does. You know that. My chest felt like it had been split open. There were weeks of messages. Flirting at first. Compliments about her hair, her laugh. Then it shifted. Late-night texts, plans, jokes about close calls. Pictures. Nothing graphic, but intimate. Selfies in his truck. One of her sitting on our couch with the caption, "Your side of the couch is lonely." And his response, "Not for long." My body went cold. They had been using our house, my kitchen, my couch, the bed I slept in. There was one message from him that made everything inside me collapse. "She thinks you're like family. That's the only reason this works." I couldn't breathe. I don't remember walking back into the house. I don't remember how long I stood in the hallway staring at him through the sliding glass door. He was laughing with the neighbors, beer in hand, completely relaxed, completely unaware that his entire life was seconds away from exploding. I walked outside slowly. "Mark," I said. He glanced at me, smiling. "Yeah? Can we talk?" Something in my voice must have tipped him off. The smile faded. We went into our bedroom. I closed the door behind us. "What's wrong?" he asked. I didn't say anything. I just handed him his phone, screen still open to the thread. I watched his face drain of color. For a split second, he looked like a stranger. Then he locked the screen. "It's not what you think," he said immediately. I laughed. It sounded unhinged even to me. "Not what I think?" My voice was shaking now. "You're sleeping with our babysitter, Mark." He ran a hand through his hair. "It's not like that." "Then what is it like?" He started pacing. "It just happened." "When?" Silence. "When?" I repeated louder. "Since May. May. That was 2 months of her walking into my house, hugging my son, sitting at my dinner table, knowing she was sleeping with my husband. 2 months of him kissing me goodnight after being with her. "Where?" I whispered, even though I already knew. He hesitated. "Here?" I asked. He didn't answer. That was answer enough. I felt something inside me go completely still. Not rage, not tears, just a quiet, devastating clarity. "You said she was like family," I said. "She is," he snapped, then immediately winced at his own words. I stepped back like he'd slapped me. "She's 19, I said.
She watches our child. He looked defensive now, almost irritated. She's an adult, Claire, and you've been distant for years. That hit harder than anything. Distant. Because I was working. Because I was tired. Because I thought marriage meant safety. "So this is my fault?" I asked. "I didn't say that, but you implied it." He didn't deny it. Outside, I could hear laughter from the barbecue, music, the normal hum of our neighborhood. Inside that bedroom, everything had shifted permanently. "Does she love you?" I asked quietly. He didn't answer right away. "I don't know," he finally said. That hurt in a way I can't describe. Not a denial, not a no, just uncertainty. I thought about Caleb asleep upstairs earlier that week, while they texted about being careful not to wake me. I thought about the way she smiled at me. I thought about the message. "She thinks you're like family. That's the only reason this works." I walked past him and opened the bedroom door. "Where are you going?" he asked. "To get my son," I said. "Claire, don't." My voice was calm now. Too calm. I walked outside, past the neighbors, past the grill smoke and string lights. I found Caleb in the backyard and picked him up. "Mommy?" he asked, confused. "We're going to Nana's tonight," I said. Mark followed me down the driveway, hissing my name like this was just an argument that needed cooling off. But it wasn't. Something fundamental had cracked open, and I knew, deep down, that this was only the beginning. Because the texts I'd seen were bad, but there were things in them that didn't add up. Times he claimed to be at work, references to last time at the lake, and one message, buried halfway down, that kept echoing in my head as I buckled Caleb into his car seat. "After August, we won't have to hide anymore." I didn't know what that meant yet, but I was going to find out. I didn't sleep at my mom's house that night. I lay in my childhood bedroom staring at glow-in-the-dark stars I'd stuck to the ceiling when I was 12, listening to Caleb's soft breathing in the twin bed next to mine. My mom, Diane, kept asking what happened. I told her Mark and I had a fight. That was the only version of the truth I could manage without falling apart. Mark called 17 times. I didn't answer a single one. Around 2 in the morning, a text came through. "We need to talk. Please don't blow this up." Blow this up. Like I was the one holding the match. I stared at that message for a long time. The nerve of him framing it like I was about to ruin something instead of him already having detonated it. At 6:30, I finally responded. "We will talk, but not tonight, and not at the house." 3 dots appeared almost immediately. "Where?" "Somewhere neutral." He agreed too quickly. I dropped Caleb off with my mom that afternoon and drove to a Starbucks off Windward Parkway. Public, bright, safe. I chose a table near the window where anyone could see us. Mark walked in wearing the same clothes from the night before. He looked like he hadn't slept either. Red eyes, jaw tight. He scanned the room and spotted me. For a split second, I saw fear in his face. He sat down across from me. "Claire," he started. I held up a hand. "Before you start lying, think carefully." "I'm not going to lie." "You already did, for months." He flinched. The smell of coffee and burnt espresso filled the air. A group of college girls laughed loudly near the counter. Everything felt painfully normal. "How long?" I asked again, even though he'd said May. He swallowed. "Technically, April." April. So when I'd walked into the kitchen and they flinched, it had already begun. "Where?" I asked. "At first, in my truck." I closed my eyes. "And then?" "Hotels, a couple times here and there." "And our house?" He hesitated. "How many times in our house, Mark?" "A few." "A few," like it was a scheduling detail. "Did Caleb ever?" "No," he said quickly. "Never when he was awake, never when he was around." That didn't comfort me. It made it worse. It meant they were careful, calculated. "Why her?" I asked quietly. He rubbed his face. "It wasn't planned." "That's not an answer." "She made me feel," he struggled, "seen." I stared at him. "Seen," I repeated. "You've been checked out for years, Claire. You're always tired, always stressed. We don't talk like we used to." "So you decided to sleep with a teenager?" "She's 19, he snapped. "And you're 38. You could be her father." He looked irritated again, like I was being dramatic. "It wasn't about age," he said. "It was about how I felt." "And how did you feel?" "Alive." The word landed like a slap. I leaned back in my chair and studied the man I'd been married to for 11 years. The man who'd held my hand in the delivery room. The man who used to leave me post-it notes on the bathroom mirror. Alive. "Does she think you're leaving me?" I asked. Silence. "Mark." We talked about what would happen if you found out." That answer told me everything. "What did you promise her?" "I didn't promise anything." "That's not what I asked." He looked away toward the window. "I told her things were complicated." I laughed under my breath. "Complicated." He reached across the table like he was going to grab my hand. I pulled mine back. "I love you," he said. "This was a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to pay the power bill. This was a relationship." "It wasn't." I read the texts. He went quiet. I took a breath, steadying myself. What did she mean when she said after August you won't have to hide anymore? His jaw tightened. "Mark." He hesitated long enough that my stomach started twisting again. "She's going back to Athens in August," he said finally. So it would be easier, less risky." "Less risky." "Are you planning to keep seeing her when she goes back to school?" He didn't answer right away. That was the moment something inside me hardened prudently. "You are," I whispered. "It wouldn't be the same," he said quickly. "Just visits, nothing serious." Nothing serious. Like this wasn't already nuclear. "Do you love her?" I asked. He stared at the table. "I care about her." My chest felt tight again. "Does she love you?" He nodded slightly. And there it was. The full picture. She loved him. He cared about her. And I was the obstacle. I pulled out my phone and opened the screenshots I'd taken the night before. Yes, I'd been shaking. Yes, I'd felt insane. But I'd had enough clarity to send myself everything. I slid the phone across the table. "This isn't caring, Mark. This is planning." He glanced at the screen. It was the message about the lake. "You told me you had a client retreat at Lake Lanier in June." He said nothing. "You took her, didn't you?" His silence was confirmation. The memory hit me all at once.
weekend. Him texting me, "Miss you," while I was home alone with Caleb. Him sending a picture of the lake at sunset. That picture hadn't been for me. "Did you sleep in the same bed?" I asked, even though I knew. "Yes." I swallowed hard. "Did you use protection?" His eyes snapped up. Of course. Of course." Like he was being responsible. I stood up suddenly, needing space. The chair scraped loudly against the floor. A couple at the next table glanced over. "Claire, sit down," he said under his breath. "Don't tell me what to do." My voice wasn't loud, but it was sharp enough that he leaned back.
"You're not thinking clearly," he said. I stared at him in disbelief. "I'm not thinking clearly? You're reacting." "Reacting?" I repeated. "You've been sleeping with the babysitter in my house, and I'm reacting?" His jaw clenched. I didn't mean it like that. I sat back down slowly, but I felt different now. Less shattered, more focused. "When was the last time?" I asked. "Last week, while I was at work. While she was supposed to be watching my son." The rage finally surfaced. "In my house?" I demanded. He hesitated again. "Yes." I nodded slowly, absorbing it. "I want her gone," I said. "Immediately. She's leaving for school in 3 weeks anyway. I don't care. She does not step foot in my house again." He ran his hand through his hair. "If we fire her suddenly, people will ask questions. I don't care. Claire, think about Caleb. He loves her. That was the lowest blow yet. You don't get to use our son to protect your mistress," I said quietly. He looked offended. "Don't call her that," I blinked. "What did you just say? Don't reduce her to, she is sleeping with my husband," I said, each word deliberate. "She is exactly that." He leaned forward. "You don't understand how it happened." "Then explain it to me," I challenged. He exhaled sharply. "She started venting about her boyfriend breaking up with her. We talked. It was innocent at first. Then one night after you'd gone to bed, we were in the kitchen and she kissed me." "She kissed you?" "Yes. And you what? Tripped and fell into her?" His face flushed. "I didn't stop it." "No, you didn't." Silence hung between us. "Do you want a divorce?" I asked finally. The question seemed to stun him. "No," he said quickly. "No, I don't." "Then what do you want?" "I want to fix this. By still seeing her in Athens?" His mouth opened, then closed. "I'll end it," he said finally. I studied him carefully. "Today," I said. He hesitated. "Today," I repeated. He pulled out his phone slowly. Right there in the middle of Starbucks, he opened her contact. My heart pounded as he typed. "It's over. Claire found out. We can't see each other anymore." He showed me before sending it. I nodded once. He hit send. The 3 dots appeared almost instantly. I don't know why that hurt more than anything else. The fact that she was waiting. Her reply came within seconds. I knew this would happen. "I love you." I watched his face as he read it. Something flickered there, something that looked dangerously close to regret. And that's when I realized this wasn't just some reckless fling. It was something deeper. Something that wasn't going to disappear just because he typed a sentence in a coffee shop. He didn't respond to her "I love you" in front of me. He just locked his phone and slid it back into his pocket like that somehow sealed it shut. Like the words weren't still hanging in the air between us. I drove home alone after that conversation. I didn't go back to my mom's. I needed to see my house. I needed to feel it. When I pulled into the driveway, it looked exactly the same. The hydrangeas by the mailbox, the basketball hoop Mark insisted on installing even though Caleb was barely tall enough to reach it. The American flag hanging slightly crooked on the porch. I sat in the car for a full minute before going inside. The house smelled like lemon cleaner and laundry detergent. Normal. Safe. A lie. I walked straight to the couch. The couch from the selfie. I stared at the cushion on the right side. His side. I tried to picture her sitting there, texting him, waiting for me to come home so she could smile in my face. I didn't cry. I just stood there, scanning the room like it was a crime scene. That's when I noticed something small, something I would have missed if I wasn't hyper-aware. A silver bracelet on the floor near the side table. Delicate, thin chain, tiny heart charm. It wasn't mine. My heart started pounding again. I picked it up slowly, turning it over in my hand. There was an engraving on the inside. E.M. Emily Morgan. She'd left it here, which meant she hadn't just been sneaking around. She'd been comfortable,
I walked upstairs to our bedroom. The bed was neatly made, the pillows arranged the way I always left them. I stood at the foot of it and suddenly couldn't breathe. I ripped the comforter back. Nothing. I opened Mark's nightstand drawer. Condoms. We hadn't used condoms in years. The box was half empty. I sank down onto the edge of the bed. This wasn't reckless. This was ongoing. Planned. Prepared. My phone buzzed. A text from Mark. She's freaking out. Please don't contact her. I stared at that message for a long time. Please don't contact her. Not, how are you? Not, are you okay? His priority was protecting her. I typed back. She left her bracelet here. 3 dots. Just throw it away. Throw it away. Like she was disposable. But she wasn't disposable to him. I'd seen his face when she said she loved him. I walked into the bathroom and looked at myself in the mirror. I looked older than I felt yesterday. Tired. Humiliated. But underneath that, something else was building. Not just anger. Curiosity. There were gaps in the timeline. Things that still didn't make sense. The lake trip. The late nights at the office. And that message about August. If she was going back to Athens and they planned to keep seeing each other, how exactly did he think that was going to work? Secret weekends? Business trips? Or was he planning something bigger? I opened our shared laptop on the kitchen counter. Mark wasn't tech-savvy. He saved passwords automatically. He reused them. I logged into his email. It took less than 2 minutes. My hands were steady now. I searched her name. Hundreds of results. They hadn't just been texting. They'd been emailing. Long emails. Paragraphs. Confessions. One subject line caught my eye. December. December? I opened it. It was from Emily. I've been thinking about what you said. If you're really serious about starting fresh after the holidays, I need to know. I can't keep being the secret forever. Starting fresh after the holidays. My stomach dropped. This wasn't a summer fling. This went back to December. He told me April. He lied again. I scrolled. His reply. I just need to get through tax season. Claire would never see it coming. Once things settle, we can talk about next steps. I felt like I was outside my body reading someone else's life. Claire would never see it coming. I sat back slowly. Next steps. They discussed a future. There were flight confirmations in his inbox. A weekend in Nashville in February. Client conference. He'd sent me pictures of a steakhouse that weekend. In another email she wrote, I loved waking up next to you without worrying about being caught. Nashville hadn't been for work. It had been for them. I don't know how long I sat there scrolling. Hours, maybe. There were photos attached to some emails. Nothing explicit, but intimate enough. Hotel mirrors. Her bare shoulders. His arm around her waist. He looked younger in those pictures. Happier. That hurt more than anything. Around 5, my phone buzzed again. Mark, I'm coming home. I didn't respond. I heard his truck pull into the driveway 15 minutes later. The front door opened. Claire? He called out cautiously. In the kitchen, I said. He walked in and immediately saw the laptop open on the counter. His face changed. What are you doing?
He asked. Finding out how long you've been lying. He stepped closer, trying to see the screen. I turned it toward him. December. He froze. I thought it started in April, I said calmly. He didn't answer. December, Mark? He exhaled slowly. It wasn't physical yet. That's not what I asked. He ran his hands through his hair. We were just talking back then. Talking about starting fresh after the holidays? He looked trapped. I didn't mean it, he said. You booked Nashville in February. Silence. You told me it was work. It was partially work. I laughed. It sounded hollow. You slept with her in Nashville. He didn't deny it. So, April wasn't the beginning, I said. It was just when you stopped pretending to yourself. He sank into a chair at the table. I didn't know how to stop, he muttered. You could have started by not pursuing a 19-year-old. She's not a child. She was 18 when this started, I shot back. That made him go quiet. 18. Barely legal. While he was planning client conferences and 401ks. You said you didn't promise her anything, I continued, but you told her we'd start fresh. I was confused. You were planning. He didn't argue that. I leaned against the counter, folding my arms. Are you in love with her? The question felt heavier now. He hesitated longer this time. "I don't know," he said finally. That was worse than yes. "Do you love me?" I asked. "Yes," he said immediately. But it sounded automatic, reflexive. "Then why were you planning a future with her?" He looked frustrated. "Because you and I haven't been good in a long time." "So you replace me?" "I didn't replace you. You told her I'd never see it coming." He winced. That line hit him too. "I was selfish," he admitted quietly. Yes. That, at least, was honest. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I stared at it for a second before answering. "Hello?" Silence for a beat. Then her voice. "Claire?" My heart started pounding. Mark's head snapped up. "How did you get my number?" I asked. I needed to talk to you." Mark stood up. "Hang up." I held up a hand to silence him. "What do you want, Emily?" Her voice was shaky, but not as shaky as I expected. I didn't know he was going to end it like that. Like what? In a coffee shop. Like I was nothing. There it was. Not guilt. Not apology. Injury. "You've been sleeping with my husband for months," I said evenly. "In my house." "I know," she whispered. "Do you?" "Yes." "Did you ever plan on telling me?" Silence. That's what I thought. Mark was pacing now, mouthing "hang up." I ignored him. "He told me you were basically separated," she said suddenly. I went still. "What?" "He said you hadn't been intimate in years, that you were staying together for Caleb." I slowly turned my eyes to Mark. His face went pale. "That's not true," I said quietly. "It's what he told me," she replied. "And you believed him?" "He sounded miserable," she said defensively. "I didn't think I was breaking anything." My chest felt tight again, but this time it wasn't just pain. It was clarity. He hadn't just cheated. He'd rewritten our marriage to justify it. "He told me you were cold," she continued softly, "that you didn't care anymore." I swallowed. "Did he tell you he still sleeps in my bed every night?" I asked. Silence. "Did he tell you he tells me he loves me?" She didn't answer. Mark stepped toward me. "Claire, stop." "No," I said. "I needed this. I'm not the villain in your love story," I told her. "I'm his wife." Her breathing hitched on the other end. "I love him," she said again, almost desperately. There it was. Raw. Unfiltered. And for the first time, I didn't feel small. I felt furious. "Then you can have him," I said quietly. Mark's head jerked toward me. "What?" he demanded. I didn't look at him. "You love him?" I said into the phone. "Great. Come get him." "Claire," Mark said sharply. But something inside me had shifted. Not shattered. Shifted. Because now I understood something I hadn't before. This wasn't just about an affair. It was about a man who built two realities at the same time. And I was done living in the one he scripted for me. When I said, "Then you can have him," I wasn't being dramatic. I wasn't trying to win. I wasn't trying to scare him. I meant it. The silence after those words felt heavier than anything else that had happened in the last 24 hours. Emily didn't respond right away. I could hear her breathing on the other end of the line, quick and uneven. Mark stepped closer to me, lowering his voice. "Don't do this." "Do what?" I asked calmly, still holding the phone. "Tell the truth." "I don't want to be with her," he insisted. But he didn't sound certain. He sounded cornered. I focused back on her. "If you love him," I said evenly, "you should know exactly who he is." "That's not fair," she whispered. "No," I replied. "Fair would have been you not sleeping with a married man in his own house." She inhaled shockingly, like I'd slapped her. "I thought you were basically separated," she said again, clinging to that version of reality. "You met me," I said. "You had dinner at my table. You hugged me." She didn't answer. Did that feel like separation? More silence. Mark finally snapped. "Give me the phone." I stepped back from him. "No. Claire, this is between us. It stopped being between us when you brought her into our bed." That shut him up. On the phone, her voice got quieter.
I didn't mean for this to happen. That line again. Like this was weather. Like they both just got caught in a storm. You booked Nashville, I said. You planned weekends. That's not an accident. She didn't argue, and that's when something clicked for me. She was young, yes. Naive in some ways, but not clueless. She knew enough to hide, to sneak, to wait until I left for work. But she didn't know the full story. Did he tell you he was planning to leave me? I asked. There was a long pause. He said after tax season things would change. Change how? He said he couldn't keep pretending. I looked straight at Mark. He looked trapped, exposed. Pretending what? I pressed. That he was happy, she said softly. I almost laughed. Happy. We'd just redone the kitchen in January. We'd booked a family trip to Destin in March. He'd posted pictures of us of Caleb's birthday party with captions about how grateful he was. Pretending. You were a fantasy, I said gently. And I wasn't even talking to hurt her anymore. You were an escape from real life. From bills. From a 5-year-old who wakes up at 6 a.m. You were fun. That's not true, she shot back, but her voice wavered. I looked at Mark again. Tell her, I said. Tell her what? That you weren't actually filing for divorce. His jaw tightened. That you didn't call a lawyer. That you didn't even look up apartments. Emily went quiet. Tell her, I repeated. He swallowed. I wasn't there yet. There yet. So you were going to wait until she uprooted her life for you? I asked. No, he snapped. That's not what this was. Then what was it? I demanded. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you were stringing both of us along. Emily spoke before he could. You said you were miserable. I was, he said quickly. Were, I repeated. He didn't respond. The truth was hanging there. Obvious. And ugly. He liked both worlds. The stability of me.
The excitement of her, and he thought he could balance it forever. Until I read the texts. I don't want him if he's lying, Emily said suddenly. That caught both of us off guard. What? Mark asked. I don't want to be the other woman forever, she continued, her voice steadier now. If you weren't actually leaving? I told you it was complicated, he said defensively. That's not the same thing, she shot back. For the first time since this exploded, I wasn't the center of the confrontation. They were, and it was ugly. I gave you everything, she said. I risked everything. I almost laughed at that. Risked what? A summer job? A 19-year-old reputation? But I kept quiet. I was going to figure it out, Mark insisted. When? She demanded. After August? After December? After another year? He didn't answer. That silence said everything. On the other end, her breathing changed. Slower. More controlled. You said you loved me, she said quietly. I do, he replied automatically. I watched his face when he said it. There was no hesitation. And that was the final crack, because he hadn't said it that clearly to me in a long time. I can't do this, she said suddenly. Emily? No, I won't be your secret, and I won't compete with your wife. The irony almost made me dizzy. You already did, I said softly. She ignored me. If you want to leave her, she told him. But don't drag me into your half-life. And then she hung up. The kitchen went quiet. Mark stood there staring at the floor like he'd just lost something. Not me, her. That realization hurt more than any of it. Well, I said finally, there it is? He looked up at me, anger flashing. You didn't have to humiliate her. I blinked. Humiliate her? Yes. I felt something inside me snap cleanly into place. You're worried about her humiliation? I asked. You humiliated me in my own house. That's not the same. You're right, I said. It's worse. He started pacing again. You just made everything harder. Harder for who? For fixing this. I stared at him. You still think this is fixable? Yes, he said immediately. We can go to counseling. We can work through it. I studied him carefully. For the first time, I saw him clearly. Not as my husband, not as Caleb's dad, but as a man who panicked when he lost control of his double life. Do you love her? I asked again. He hesitated. That hesitation was my answer. I nodded slowly. I'm not going to compete, I said. I'm not asking you to. Yes, you are, I replied. You want me to stay while you grieve her.
He opened his mouth, then closed it. You don't get to mourn your mistress in my house, I continued calmly. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. He looked exhausted now, frustrated, cornered. What do you want? He asked. I thought about that. Not in anger, not in revenge, just clarity. I want peace, I said finally, and I don't have it with you. His face changed at that. Fear, finally. You're serious, he said. Yes. You'd really throw away 11 years? The audacity of that almost made me laugh. You threw it away, I replied. I'm just acknowledging it. Silence filled the kitchen. Outside, a neighbor's dog barked. A car drove past. Life kept moving. I'll leave, I said. What? I'll take Caleb to my mom's for now. You can figure out what you actually want. I want you, he insisted. Then you should have acted like it. I walked past him and went upstairs. Packing was surreal. I moved on autopilot. Caleb's clothes. My toiletries. Important documents. Mark followed me at a distance, like he was afraid to get too close. You're overreacting, he muttered at one point. I turned slowly. Overreacting. I ended it. Because I caught you. He didn't argue.